Five Lady Vols finished in double-digit scoring in their season opener against Samford. Talaysia Cooper, Zee Spearman are absolute game changers, but there are a couple of things that they'll need to tighten up as the season progresses. So the three things you need to know following the Lady Vols' season opening win over Samford. I'm Paige Dower. This is the Field Pass on Full Disclosure. This new era of Lady Vol basketball could be so exciting for so many reasons. Of course, Coach Kim Caldwell gets her first win as the Lady Vols' head coach, and 7 transfers took the court for the Lady Vols, and they combined for 73 points, 24 rebounds, 14 assists, and 18 steals. So right there, that stat line tells you pretty much everything we need to know about what we're going to see from this team. 1, the transfers are making an immediate impact. 2, they're incredibly physical and aggressive in the way that they play, and they can also turn that defense into offense to the tune of 73 points, part of their 101 total points on the night. So they fit exactly what Coach Kim Caldwell is wanting out of this team. So it'd be very exciting to see how they continue to grow, because there was one area in particular that Coach Kim Caldwell absolutely needs this team to kind of turn it on or turn it around before they get much further into the season, and we'll get to that much later in the show. But I first want to start by keeping our focus on the transfers, namely Talaysia Cooper, who absolutely was the tone setter in this game. In the exhibition, we saw it was transfer Ruby Whitehorn, who really is that true shooter. But in this game, in the way that Talaysia Cooper was able to set the tone was on her lockdown defense, her defense turning into offense. Whether it's her driving to the rack or it's her dishing it out to one of her teammates, her ability to kind of pull the offense together out of her defensive efforts is such a thing to watch. We saw that so much throughout the game, and the way that she played too, there's almost like not necessarily a stat line for the type of defense that she plays. It's so like football-esque in the way that she plays and gets her blocks and deflections and picks. The Samford coach after the game kind of called those moments pick sixes, and that's exactly what it was. Just the length and craftiness of Talaysia Cooper makes it so immensely difficult for opponents to get anything set, from the inbound pass or to even getting offensive sets going to try and get a chance to get a score. But Talaysia Cooper, just with her length and her ability to put her body in the right position, comes up with those blocks, comes up with those deflections, comes up with those steals, and we see her turn it in for points on the other end. But we didn't really see that kind of until the end of the second quarter going into the third quarter, when the team was really kind of buying into effort on the defensive end. Type of play was really the strength when she was able to deflect. I think it was back-to-back passes from the inbound. Around the same time, that pressured defense forced back-to-back 10-second violations and then another shot clock violation. Cooper routinely came up with timely steals that she'd drive in for a score on the other end, because in the second quarter, Talaysia Cooper took one of her steals, dished it to Ruby Whitehorn in the second quarter, and Ruby Whitehorn drained a 3 to get a 29-17 lead there in the second quarter. It's that type of play and that type of IQ that has Samford's coach saying that Talaysia Cooper will be an absolute problem here in the league once this type of play gets going. And Cooper also led all scorers with 13 points in just 20 minutes of action. She then would add 3 steals, 2 blocks, and 2 rebounds.
She can also fill up a stat sheet, and I think her steals really help our whole entire offense get a good flow. She'll start these runs for us, which are big, and they were hanging around until she really got her hand on a couple balls, and then we could kind of take off.
Yeah, Talaysia Cooper would add 5 more steals onto that to get 7 total steals on the night. 7 of the 27 that the Lady Vols had by the end of it. And we saw that absolutely disrupt and kind of demoralize a little bit the Samford Bulldogs, because they turned it over 45% of the time. That is an incredible stat line, and it kind of gets me thinking, like, okay, I know Tennessee football, they want 3 turnovers a game. Okay, well, how many do the Lady Vols, how many do they want? How many steals or turnovers are they trying to get a game? Because I am more than sure that they are surpassing those early goals. All right, to the second thing that I want us all to know about. Zee Spearman can be an absolute dangerous, game-changing player for this team, more so if she can get it going in the first half. Similar to their exhibition against Carson Newman and what we saw Tuesday night against Samford, she kind of struggled to get things going in the first half. If you look back to the exhibition, it was kind of a confidence thing, not realizing that being, 6'4", 6'5", she's the tallest, player on the court, and the teammates are like, please just take a shot. She finally did that, turned it on in the second half. She got a couple of looks early in the game, was definitely able to help a lot on defense, so still affecting the game in a positive way. But hearing, Coach Kim Caldwell talk about her after the game, because we saw her take a number of three-pointers in the second half of the game, she says that, she consistently knocks those down in practice. They'll need to see that in game time. So I think seeing her more on the perimeter is definitely something that we'll keep our eye out for, because when it did get to the second half, in the third quarter, she had 6 points, and then in the fourth quarter, she had 15. All of that combined for 25 total points, which may or may not sound like a lot to you, but in a debut, that's second best in program history for a Lady Vol to put up points in a debut game. For her, it was more, again, about having conversations with her teammates and just knowing that she's getting the ball in the right spot. And when she's open, like she was so many times Tuesday night, to have the confidence to take that shot.
It's just about, like, warming up. I feel as if, like, I needed to warm up a little bit more, like, get my head right and be able to play hard. And I just needed my confidence from my teammates, which they always give me. And so with that confidence, it just made me turn up. Honestly.
Yeah, and Zee Spearman did that in just 19 minutes of play. But I think her ability to go from the first half to the second half and really turn it on there was truly reflective of how the team looked as a whole. And we'll talk about that just after this thought here. How they were able to turn it on in the second half. They got 10% better from the field as compared to what they were doing from the field in the first half. The three-point line was pretty much the same, but I just think it's them settling into it, not rushing things. So much of these bad shots, quote unquote, that they see really is just because they've rushed the offense. They're not really getting set into anything. The shots, for the most part, are pretty clean, but if they could just take an extra second and get that shot off, I think they would be a lot better. But sometimes you do have nights where players just aren't having their best night offensively. Sarah Puckett didn't have her best night offensively, but boy, did she make all types of defensive plays on the other end. Highlight worthy defensive plays by Sarah Puckett. But moments in production like that will obviously bring down the total. So I wouldn't say it's as bad as it probably looks on paper. The shot still looked really clean for some reason. For Sarah Puckett specifically, they just weren't falling. I'm not really sure why. It did really bother her in the game, but their message to her after the game from Coach Kim Caldwell was like, you still impacted the game in a really positive way. And really, I think the substitution, as I'm trailing off, I think the substitution will do a really good job for keeping these players locked in, because they know they're going to have to go back in. It doesn't allow for these moments of like pouting if things aren't going your way, as Coach Kim Caldwell would say. But things that do need to start going their way, and this is our third and final point, is defensive rebounds. They did not do a good job of rebounding on defense, especially late in the game. Now, is that a credit because they were getting gassed and tired because they are up and down this court all night long? How they start the first 5 minutes is how they want to look in the final 5 minutes when it comes to speed and effort. That lacked a little bit during this game, and I think that's why the rebounding margin was pretty close to Samford. I mean, the Samford Bulldogs, they held their own on the boards. They had 38 rebounds compared to Tennessee's 41, and they also forced the Lady Vols to turn it over 20 times. And kind of the point I've been reiterating this whole time, that rebounding margin, 38-41, isn't always necessarily as glaring as it should be when you're just enjoying the game, because they had 36 fast break points. But when you face teams that are a little bit better and can actually fully capitalize on those 20 turnovers that they forced against the Lady Vols, you will start to pay for not having that defensive effort on the boards. And it's something that Coach Kim Caldwell has continued to harp on all throughout, training camp and the summer, and, even in the weeks leading up to these games. So much so that she's just like, I guess they're just going to have to lose a game before they take us seriously, that you have to rebound on defense. And that'll be vitally important when they start to turn their attention to December, when they're taking on teams like Florida State and Iowa in these tournaments. And I think if they can't clean up the defensive rebounds, those games will not be as fun or as entertaining as they should. And now that you're in this short week where you've got another game Thursday against UT Martin, I'll be interested to see how much they're able to kind of turn it on or figure out, why they're kind of lacking when it it comes to those defensive boards, because I think that could be a big game changer. So many other aspects of their game is really strong, and I don't think November will look as horrendous as Coach Kim Caldwell warns us all to be, but I think it'll actually show up in December when you're facing more teams that are quality opponents, that are more, kind of on your level, not to disparage, the other opponents that they're facing. But when you kind of get closer to conference play, I think if they're not able to fix these defensive rebounds, get settled in early into these games, and maybe have a bit more passing involved in their offense, I think those things could really start to plague the team as the season continues. But I'd really be curious to see how much they're able to fix on Thursday. And speaking of Thursday, I'm thinking about having another post-game report. I think you all really wanted that during the Carson Newman game. I didn't obviously do that after the Stanford game because we had Tennessee football to talk about. So if you missed that, go back and watch that to get ready for Saturday. But if Thursday you all are wanting another 10:30 kind of post-game report, I can certainly do that. I just want to make sure that you all are anticipating that. So just make sure to subscribe, turn those notifications on just in case I do a post-game report. So like last time, just leave a comment if that's what you want, and I'll absolutely do that. But thank you all so much for watching. Again, please like, subscribe, engage, all the good things, and maybe I'll be back on Thursday. If not, I'll be back later this week.